This is the first estate, and this lesson centers on Fidel Castro's UFO sighting was galactic warfare. Now, on your screen is an image of the Strong's Concordance. This book contains a definition of every word in the King James Bible, Old and New Testament. This book will be my aid in helping convey this lesson. So with that, we're going to jump right into it. Close in on this particular printout from the Blue Letter Bible, Strong's Concordance. Now on the top left-hand corner of your screen, that's where you can keep track of the biblical verses that I will be using throughout this lesson. So, we're going to go to the book of Revelations chapter 12, verses 7 through 9. And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So, this war that took place in the sky, in the heavens, they were using automobiles of various shapes and sizes, because the key right here indicates that. All right? So, with that, we're going to move on. Now, this is Fidel Castro, for those of you who are unaware. And you can read this at your own leisure. I'm not going to go through this. But as you can see, his date of birth. All right? Now, he died in 2016, November 25th. All right? So, with that, we're going to keep it moving. So here, from the Free Dictionary, we see the word fiel. Okay? Now, as you can see, fiel means Fidel. And we have the word faithful right here. All right? So, we're going to go to another book, and that is Revelations chapter 19, verse 11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. Okay? So, remember, fiel. Okay? We know it means Fidel. All right? So, brings us here, and we're going to go back to the key, and in the key we see fiel. Okay? So we know that this means Fidel. All right? Now, we see the word here means vial. All right? Now, deep saucer. We're going to tackle this in a bit. So in the book of Revelations, chapter 16, verses 8 and 9, and the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. And men were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of God, which hath power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory. So, now as you can see right here, vial, now a broad shallow bowl or deep saucer. Okay, and remember, it's Fidel. All right, so he was privy to seeing something, and ironically, he was named, after this particular, you know, instrument in heaven. All right, so we're going to move on. So remember, deep saucer. Now, what do we have? Flying saucers. All right. Okay, so flying saucer. Now, from here, we will move on. Now, this is what he saw. Okay, so as you can see, these chariots or UFOs in the sky. All right, and this is in not sure what year yet. We will get to that. hoping. Now, as you can see, he explains it. So, we suddenly saw a light darting among the stars. The light approached the group of commanders and poured over us like a bucket. It was round and enormous. The countryside and the mountains became illuminated as though it was daylight. Very interesting. So we know it's factual. This much we know now. So here's some more info on Fidel and during his period, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay, so now we see Kennedy here. All right, and closest we came to World War III. Okay, now as you can see, Soviets send Cuba military aid and money. 1962, Soviets place nuclear weapons on the island. Kennedy orders blockage of the island and the removal of the missiles. After a 13-day standoff, Khrushchev removes the missiles. So this is Cuban Missile Crisis. So now you know there's a deeper meaning behind all of this. Okay? So here we go. Cuba and Angola. Okay, fighting for Africa's freedom and our own. So they join forces. All right? Now, as we move along, you're going to see that a lot of things were done, you know, between these two nations for more than just, you know, fighting for each other's freedom. So, moving along, Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary. Within, we're going to go to the word ham. So let's bring Ham up. So Ham means hot. Youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, okay, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. So Negroes aren't African, or those people living on the continent known as Africa. Negroes and them aren't the same. The bloodline is different. Even top scholars throughout the world know this. Yet they tend to keep this lie going within the school system. Anyway, moving along, back to Ham from the Blue Letter Bible, Strong's Concordance. Once again, it means hot. Now, he's the second son of Noah. Okay? So, Ham, as you can see, transliteration, pronunciation right here. All right? Now, we're going to read in the book of Genesis, chapter 9, verses 20. Okay? Genesis chapter 9, verses 20 through 25. And Noah began to be an husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank the wine, and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment, and laid it upon both their shoulders, and went backward, and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noah woke from his wine, and knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. Now, the Bible was written in code. What Ham was actually looking at was future prophecy. That's what it means when he saw his father's nakedness. Noah had devices where he could actually see into the future. But it wasn't meant for his sons. Definitely not, you know, Ham and Japheth to look upon this. Okay? So, but like today, Ham thinks he's greater than the Negro because of the lies that's been spewed out there. Even Shem, the oldest son, the eldest, the one that the Negro line came from, wouldn't even disrespect, God and Noah that way. All right? So, moving along brings us here. So, we're going to go to the book of Jeremiah. Now, in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, verse 2, thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Now, them, okay, the word is key, Ham. See? Ham knew. They knew. All right? And this is the connection that Castro had with Africa. Just like the UN nations, they all know stuff. The world leaders that they hide from everybody else, in particular the Negro. All right? So, with that, we're going to move along. Now, we're going to go to the book of Leviticus. The book of Leviticus, remember Ham, means hot, and Ham is also what? Swine, okay? Like a hog. So in the book of Leviticus, chapter 11, verse 7, and the swine, though he divided the hoof and be cloven-footed, yet cheweth not the cud. He is unclean to you. Okay? So, we're going to move on to Mark chapter 5, verse 13. And forthwith Jesus gave them leave, and the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine. And the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. They were about 2,000 and were choked in the sea. Okay? So, even though these people on the continent of Africa look similar to the Negro, we're really not supposed to have any type of dealings with them. We're not supposed to mate with them and do things like that, particularly not them, because that can be extra confusing. Mating with the Africans or the people on that continent for obvious reasons. Okay, because the bloodline's different. We look similar on the outside, and that's where the confusion can come in, where they can start to play mind games with us because they think that they are above us when, like every other nation, they are beneath. Okay? So, moving along, right here, we see Castro. And this is an image of Area 51. Okay? And we now know that this stuff is real. And it's something that people tend to make light of. And I can bring or create future shows on this, on Area 51. It's actually written in the scripture, in the Gnostics, that is. But here we go. On the Egyptian wall, we see an image of an ET. Okay, so we're going to go to the book of Hebrews. In the book of Hebrews, we're going to go to chapter 11, verses 32 through 34. And what shall I more say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon, and of Barak, and of Samson, and of Jephthah, of David also, and Samuel, and of the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in war, turn to flight the armies of the aliens. Yes, that's right. Because they exist. And Fidel Castro knew this. He knew this. And he tried to bring it to light, to the forefront, but his mouth was stopped. He was told by world leaders to keep your mouth shut. All right? So, anyway, I think I'm going to bring this lesson to a conclusion. All right? But first, we see these, pyramids here. One's in ancient Egypt, or in Egypt currently, and in South America. And I am going to close out this lesson on this particular frame. So, anyway, this has been the first estate, and I will see you in the next lesson.